For 2025 to be a success for this Toronto Blue Jays baseball club, one guy is going to have to figure it out at the plate. Today, we're breaking down our top 10 Blue Jays for 2025. Number 7, Daulton Varsho.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. As always, I'm Braden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasko, Carter First 2. As well, Instagram, TikTok, at Locked On Blue Jays. Make sure you guys go follow us there as well. The Twitters are hugely important for the season. Go follow us there. We'll be posting updates throughout the game. Any big information we will be posting on Twitter as well. So make sure you guys do head over there. Again, Braden5 Iwasko, Carter First 2. As well, if you're new here to YouTube or you're listening anywhere else, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Sign in, create an account. It's not that hard. Hit that sub button. Helps us out. Keeps us top of your page. You guys stay in the loop on Blue Jays info, news, storylines, games. And you get your podcasts, your videos, your shorts, and your live streams. Discord link is also down in the description. Carter, lot to get into today. Just a couple things here to get out of the way before we really dive deep. A live stream will be happening on the 27th. Carter will kick things off for opening day. I will join him a couple minutes into the game as I'm just going to have to get off work and get back and join the live stream. And then Friday and Monday, we've moved it up a little bit. Skylar Peters and Dallin Wilton will join the podcast for a little roundtable with me and Carter to discuss hot takes, bold predictions, where you can go and place bets. What are the best bets to bet on the Blue Jays early in the year? And yeah, it is going to be a very fun episode. It's going to be a lot of the boys are just going to be throwing it back and forth, slinging it around. It should be a great 2 episodes where we're going to, it's going to be big. We're going to go into, Skylar Peters sort of crazy hot take last year, talking about the Red Sox. Apparently it wasn't too far off. So maybe the guy does have a clue on what's going on. We'll talk about that tomorrow and Monday, I guess. Carter, let's start it off. Top 10 Blue Jays. Daulton Varsho comes in at number 7, I believe. A guy that I think is very integral to this success of this Toronto Blue Jays team moving into 2025.
The whole Daulton Varsho picture has kind of been skewed, obviously, and it's always going to be skewed by this trade that happened, the Gabriel Moreno trade, the Lourdes Gurriel trade. We broke that down. I believe it was about a month ago now, just how that has transpired for the Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously, if you know Daulton Varsho, you know what he's going to be good at. He's going to be one of the best defenders, if not the best defender in all of baseball, and he leaves a little bit to be desired with the bat. When the Toronto Blue Jays traded for Daulton Varsho in 2022, they were looking for the numbers that kind of came with Daulton Varsho in 2022. This guy was 25 years old at that time, put up a 4.9 WAR, had 27 home runs, 74 RBIs, never been an average guy, 235 average, but had an OPS of 745. And with that defensive specialty that he did provide, you were hoping that at 25 years old, maybe Daulton Varsho is just starting to come into his own. Because if you have Daulton Varsho, if he can even be 115, 110 even, weighted runs created plus hitter, with that defense he provides, he can be such an important part to a baseball team, especially in terms of if you want just a baller, a guy that's going to do everything he possibly can to put your team over the edge and get wins when he can. But this year, it has been a little bit clouded with the injury that he did suffer last year, a shoulder injury that obviously required surgery at the end of the last offseason. Kind of came up out of nowhere. Didn't really hear anything about Daulton Varsho injury. And then the first week of the offseason, Daulton Varsho going for shoulder surgery. And we expected him to be out, obviously, until middle of May, was around maybe early May was the estimate. Now is Daulton Varsho going to be ready for opening day? So clearly there might be a medical miracle going on with Daulton Varsho's shoulder, but he might be ready to go for opening day. He's got in at number 7 on our rankings. Debatably could be higher if he has a better offensive season. You could argue that maybe he's lower because you're not very in on Daulton Varsho's offense. Just overall, when you think Daulton Varsho, when somebody asks you, how do you think of Daulton Varsho as a baseball player? What's your first and overall reactions to that question?
Yeah, it's not a difficult one to answer. It's one of the best defensive players in all of baseball. I don't think that's even debatable. He is fantastic in center field. And Carter, I know when we talked about this trade, I said there's still a lot of room for the Daulton Varsho to come into his own and be, find his bat and really push, you know, I guess what he can be. And I don't think we've seen it. We've seen it maybe in spurts, but really nothing crazy. But then you go, Carter, and you look at how he's been at the plate this spring training, and he has been excellent with a 320 average, a 379 on base percentage, and a 920 slugging just through him DHing because he hasn't played the field yet, coming off of that injury. And Carter, you talked about him possibly be ready for opening day. I don't necessarily think he will be. I think it'll be a week, maybe two, but he's going to be back a lot sooner than we all suspected. And what an amazing thing, because I know conversations kept coming up around, well, who's going to take his spot in center field, right? It does that then dictate who the Blue Jays have on their 40 man. Does that change different things? And now I'm at the point where I say, no, I think they go into this season. And if it's the first 2 weeks where they got to put, play Joey Loperfido out there or move things around, or there's a lot of guys that can cover that position. It just depends on which bat you want in the lineup, I think. And if you have to suffer a little bit defensively until Daulton Varsho comes back, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, especially only if it's a week or two.
Yeah, that's on obviously the good side of things, but that's everything we have seen from camp is that it is likely that, again, you are going to get that 10-day IL stint. But for Daulton Varsho, a guy that, again, plays with no regard for his body whatsoever. No. He's diving into walls. He's, just falling all the way out, like full-on stretch to try to catch ball. Daulton Varsho, no regard for his own safety whatsoever. So if you're going to have him back on the field, you're going to make sure that this guy is at 100%. And we talked about that lack of desired, like that what needs to be desired with Daulton Varsho, and is that bat. But he is, with the spring training that you just brought up, how unbelievable he's been. The power that we've shown from the left-handed side from Daulton Varsho, starting to make a little bit of a case to be the DH for this team. That is a storyline that some fans, some insiders have been providing for the Toronto Blue Jays. Where are you at with that saga? Are you in for Daulton Varsho starting with the team, kind of going off that rehab stint? Because he is already throwing from 90 to 120 feet. You got to think that if he has that bat in the lineup, you can probably just rehab that shoulder, whether it's in batting practice, whether it's before games. There is going to be opportunities for Daulton Varsho to throw baseballs, when they're playing at baseball fields. So where are you at with this idea of Daulton Varsho starting as, a part-time DH, maybe just platooning against right-handed hitters as the DH to start the season?
Yeah, it is a tough one because I know John Schneider's come out and said that it's probably unlikely that they go down the path of Daulton Varsho as their DH. But I don't hate that. I think getting him the feel of it, continuing on the success that he's had in spring training is a big part. I think if you just say, you're done for 2 weeks, I don't think that helps him in 2025. I think keeping his bat ready and going, because why would you have played him in spring training as the DH if that wasn't a possibility on the table? So I love the idea of Daulton Varsho being this team's DH, at least for the first week or two. And if, he doesn't have to play every game, but keeping him in a rhythm, keeping him in some type of routine with the bat on his shoulder, swinging away, let him go. Because again, it's all about, we said this, I don't know how many times last year, about riding the hot hand. And Daulton Varsho right now looks like he has the hot hand. So give him the bat and see what he can do. If he's going to continue what he did in spring training, that's a huge bump for not just the team's confidence, but Daulton Varsho specifically moving throughout the rest of the year. If you just pull his bat out of his hand and say you're done for 2 weeks, I don't know. Yeah, you might get, his defense is going to be great. That's fine. But will he lose that bat? That's my biggest worry right now.
Yeah, I think having Daulton Varsho in a DH role, but just obviously platooning. I said against right-handed batters. I went against lefties. He's a lot better against left-handed batters. Hit 287 last year with a 356 on base, 457 slugging for an 813 OPS. So if you get Daulton Varsho in these scenarios early on the season, like we have seen, he's mashing the baseball. And we saw early on last year in April that this guy was absolutely mashing the baseball as well at 895 OPS in the month of April. Was early on when you had Vladimir Guerrero Jr. struggling. Obviously, you had George Springer, Bichette. You pretty much had everyone struggling in April. Daulton Varsho, maybe not because of his own success, but he was the best probably hitter on the Toronto Blue Jays during the month of April. And that was one of his best stretches throughout the entire season. So we have Daulton Varsho as a DH. You have him coming into camp swinging hot. During spring training has a hot bat. Why would you not try to roll that into the regular season, because it could be the best offensive stretch that you see from Daulton Varsho the entire season. So if you have that opportunity to throw him at that DH spot, especially against left-handed hitters, where he has faced left-handed hitters last year and throughout his career and has done that successfully, you have Daulton Varsho hot, exactly like you said. You have the hot hand at your disposal, and you had him hitting throughout the entirety of spring training. Worst case scenario, you have Daulton Varsho start with the team. Maybe he loses that edge a little bit, and it's a 2-week period where you're throwing him in every second or third game as that DH. And he's going to be back in a couple weeks anyway. It's not like you're waiting 2-3 months and then, oh no, if he's not hitting very well, then you're kind of left with, oh, we're going to have to give this guy at bats because he's not playing defensively, and we don't just want him kind of sitting here doing nothing. So I think it's a very low risk move to have Daulton Varsho with the team, have him as that DH, and if things go well, Ross Atkins and John Schneider are going to look like geniuses going into this opening day.
Yeah, it just, at the end of the day, it just doesn't make sense to me. Why put him into spring training and letting him DH if you're not going to do that for the regular season? It makes zero sense. And John Schneider coming out and saying, it's not, we don't think it's a possibility. We think he's going to start on the IL. Then why not just have him not play in spring training? Let him help your team win baseball games. That's it. If he has to do it on the offensive side of the plate, that's great. If he has to do it on the defensive side when he's back and healthy, that's what we want to see. But let Daulton Varsho contribute to this team and let him ride out his hot hand. So again, I want to get more into Daulton Varsho a little bit on what he can do this coming season. What are you hoping for? What are you thinking he can do? And what's realistic? We've got to talk about it. Then, of course, some spring training stuff as well, Carter, talking about, who has been the biggest surprise in Toronto Blue Jays spring training baseball. We're going to talk about all that when we come back after this short break.
Today's episode is sponsored by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, and experts are ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries. This includes IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. They can help you find the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with freelance experts who deliver incredible results. They also have a fast and easy hiring process. Posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, you can connect with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. They also offer a cost-effective growth. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect the top talent to grow your business today.
Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. My brother, I just got him in on the $200 bonus bets. He hit his first one, so now he's in. He's got the $200 to play with. See what he can do. I'll maybe keep you guys updated because that's pretty much free money. You might as well use it. So visit FanDuel.com. Get in on the college hoops action all tournament long with FanDuel. My favorite place to bet. Carter, continuing out on Daulton Varsho and what he can do this season. Again, do I think that he can keep the 320 average with a 379 on base percentage and a 920 slugging? No, because that's just not the player Daulton Varsho has shown us all to be. But
and also 920 slugging is absolutely ridiculous.
It's insane. It's insane. It's you're the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. levels there in his best.
If anyone has even 900 OPS on this team, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised, other than I guess Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But yeah, if you get anything even close to a 900 slugging from anyone, Hall of Fame numbers, throw them in there already.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess when you're looking through, there are certain stats we want to look at for Daulton Varsho, right? We know that he's quick. We know that he might be, with this Blue Jays new aggressive way of playing offense, he might be a guy they can look at to tag some bases as well. So I guess a couple things: stolen bases, home runs, on base percentage or average. Where do you want to see Daulton Varsho be in some of those statistic categories?
Well, the thing with Dalton Varsho is he's never really been an on-base guy. He's never really been a contact guy. The biggest thing, other than the defense, that this guy has promised is the home run power, and that has been something that the Toronto Blue Jays have been missing exponentially over the last few seasons. 2023, not a lot of good home run hitters. The 2024, you had 120 home run hitter, and that was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. How successful were the Toronto Blue Jays in 2024? Not very much at all. They were horrible in 2024, especially offensively. Did get better throughout the season, but from a power standpoint, this team has been lackluster over the last 2 seasons. You have Anthony Santander now. That's great. You have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who you hope you can get 30 home runs from both of them. But when you have these other guys, Bo Bichette, again, you hope you can get 20. You hope George Springer can offer you anything at the plate. But Daulton Varsho could be that next guy who you hope can produce consistent 20 home run seasons. And he has been at least close to doing that recently. But with Daulton Varsho to maximize that offensive output, if you can get to 25, Daulton Varsho can touch 30 home runs and be one of the best defensive outfielders in all of baseball. The WAR numbers are going to be absolutely insane. This guy might be an 8-9 WAR player. If he's hitting those home runs, again, you can get the OPS will come with that. The RBIs will come with that. If you can hit the home run ball, which has been something that has been missing from this team for a very long time, especially with a left-handed bat, which you sort of have now with Anthony Santander. But other than that, unless Will Wagner takes these massive strides, you still have stuff to be desired from the left-handed side of the plate. Daulton Varsho, if you get that home run power, this would be massive for the Toronto Blue Jays offense in 2025.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I'm looking for. When I was looking over Dalton Varsho's statistics, obviously has not had a season eclipse that 27 home run year. I am probably looking at Dalton Varsho, even if he can hit 24, 25. I was originally thinking 23, but if he can get to that 24 home runs, push 60, 65 RBIs, that's probably in the situation where you're really thrilled with what Dalton Varsho did. You just want him to break over that 2022 home run mark. I think that's going to really affect this Toronto Blue Jays team because last year we talked about it. One guy hit 20 home runs, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That was it. You need the long ball. And I think with the bounce back coming from Bo Bichette, who's looked amazing in spring training, Alejandro Kirk, probably not going to hit that many home runs, but you got Anthony Santander, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., maybe George Springer. And now if you add Dalton Varsho into that as well, that is just the equation of scoring runs. With if you have 5 guys that can hit 20 home runs, Carter, that is going to help your win-loss total by a ton.
See, and it's going to be interesting to see where this guy does hit the order. Are they going to roll out George Springer opening day and then have Bo Bichette, Vladdy, Santander? Is Bo Bichette going to be the leadoff hitter and you have Vladdy? Are they going to throw Dalton Varsho maybe at that 2-hole, leave Bo at 1, have a left-handed hitter at the top of that order? I think Will Wagner makes a little bit more sense there. But if you don't get that production from Will Wagner and you get Dalton Varsho, who maybe catches fire early on, that is an option to get a left-handed bat at the top of your order. And I know this guy isn't like a huge on-base guy, only a 293 in 2024, but you brought up stealing. When we've talked about stealing a little bit on this podcast, how the Toronto Blue Jays really haven't done it throughout the last few seasons. And when you have a historically power-hitting team, it makes a lot of sense. You got guys that are going to hit 30, 40 home runs. Why run into outs on the base pass when these guys probably aren't very fast anyway? When you have, Teoscar Hernandez, you have Randall Grichuk at that time who was hitting 20 home runs. Now, if you don't get the production with these long ball hitters, again, you got Santander that can help, but there might need to be a little bit of a transition in the way this offense plays, maybe a little bit more small ball. Dalton Varsho is a guy that does have the sprint speed, is a very smart base runner. This is a guy that I hope that if he gets on base, which again, with Dalton Varsho, a lot of doubles, a lot of home runs. He's not on first base a ton necessarily, but when he does get to first base, I expect them to kind of open the floodgates a little bit, give Dalton Varsho a little bit more leash on whether he wants to run or in which specific scenarios where he can run. I just want them to open the door a little bit on Dalton Varsho stealing more bases in 2025.
Yeah, and we've talked about some guys, right? So who do you trust up there? Who do you trust making the decision to take the bag? Dalton Varsho is one of those guys that I trust with his baseball IQ. He knows how to play the outfield. He knows what routes to take. He's quick. He's fast. He's just the guy that knows the game and knows situations. And I like Dalton Varsho having a little bit more leeway to be able to steal some bases, right? Again, I don't know what a good number is because you are 100% right. This Toronto Blue Jays team just did not steal bases. They wouldn't even attempt to steal bases. So I don't know what a good number is because I don't know what the team's philosophy is going to be. Yes, we've seen it a little bit more. Maybe that translates into the regular season, but I'm still pretty unsure of what the thought process around stealing is going to be this season. But if you can get Dalton Varsho on base, let him steal, let him go. I even say that with guys like Bo. Let him run. Let him run. Test him out. Test the guy's arms. Just do it because, like we've talked about, there aren't a ton of amazing catchers now in the entirety of the MLB. So in certain situations, the catcher you're playing against, the pitchers you're playing against. You got to look at the film a little bit and know who is good at the caught stealing metric. You got to know who's better and who's worse at that, and really take advantage of those situations.
Yeah, you got to know who's behind the plate. I remember a game last year where the Boston Red Sox were playing the New York Yankees. I think it was Ben Rice behind the plate, but the Boston Red Sox saw that. They stole like 9 bases that game. And when you can get that free base from first to second, you take away that double play option, and you also put guys in scoring position. That is why wouldn't you do that? It sounds absolutely insane. Why you wouldn't at least attempt to do that when you got guys who can run on the base paths? You might ask, who on the Blue Jays can steal? George Springer's, again, still getting older. Might not be good at the plate, but still has a little bit in the tank when it comes to running. Dalton Varsho's there. Ernie Clement is sneaky fast. You have some of these younger guys, as in Barger, could steal bases. If you put Jonathan Clase there, that's another guy that can steal bases. Willie is a different scenario. Will Wagner's another guy you could run. Bo Bichette, a little bit of sneaky speed there. There are some guys. Andrus Gimenez, they just got 30 stolen base guy. There's a bunch of guys in this lineup. Alejandro Kirk, probably good for 10 stolen bases. But as we go down, there are a lot of guys that can steal bases, and they have been successful as we went over the podcast. And I'm pretty sure George Springer was an 80% guy around success rate, Ernie Clement around 75%. So it's 3 to 4 times they're going to snag the base. And again, this depends. If Anthony Santander is going to go and hit 45 home runs, maybe you get 40 from Vladdy. It depends, again, in these scenarios, who's up to the plate, because I don't know if I want like Varsho stealing first if Vladdy's behind him and there's 2 outs. There's different scenarios, obviously, that these are at play. But I say Dalton Varsho is hitting lower in the order, and, you got maybe Ernie Clement or Andrus Gimenez up. Just another opportunity to get guys in scoring position, hitting runs. There's so many different things that stealing bases just opens this offense to do. And I think it all can start with Dalton Varsho.
Yeah, I agree. I like I said in the beginning of this episode, Dalton Varsho might just be a key piece to the success of the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays. And I know that's putting a lot of pressure on a guy, but we've seen how Dalton Varsho handles pressure situations, handles being the main focal point of the outfield and being able to do that stuff defensively. Now we just need to see it translate offensively. And I know there are a lot of people that don't have faith in Dalton Varsho's ability at the plate. What I'd say is go back and watch some of these spring training games. Continue to watch them. Watch him at the plate. He's on a hot streak. And that's all you can really ask for Dalton Varsho. He was brought in to be a very solid defensive outfielder with an upside in his bat. And if you can bring out that upside, it's going to be huge. But Carter, in saying all that, I do want to touch on something you brought up just before we started the podcast, and that is, who's one guy that has really shocked you or surprised you or really let you down in this 2025 spring training? So let's take a quick break. We'll come right back and we'll discuss all of that.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
So, Carter, I'm going to throw it to you first because I have a guy, but I think you might go with him. So, if that's the case, I do have a backup. One guy that's either really surprised you or really let you down this spring training. Who do you got?
This is one guy that I know I've forgotten about a little bit, especially just talking about who's going to make the team opening day. A little bit of a younger guy that just has escaped the minds of a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans and has been a major piece of trade bait, especially on this podcast. Not as much from me, but definitely from you. And it's Addison Barger, a guy that kind of just forgotten about when he had the little bit of the down spell last year. Did not hit very well, was under 200 average. The OPS was like 550, 600. Just not exactly what you're looking for free swinger Addison Barger. That, again, another power predominant bat that you were hoping can provide you a little bit of pop from the plate. And I know it is spring training, but like we say, if things are going well in spring training, you're on with it. If things aren't going well, it's just spring training. It's not a big deal. Addison Barger is on the ladder. He's having a very good spring training so far and just looks a lot more confident at the plate. Again, it's just spring training, but a 370 average, a 667 slugging for an OPS of 1,086. I am taking that every single day of the week for Aston Barger, especially with a younger guy like this who does have a shot to crack this opening day roster. Confidence is such a big thing for these younger players, and he can carry that confidence into the regular season and, catch fire maybe a little bit at the start of the season. Could have a little bit of a breakup for Aston Barger. Again, a little bit optimistic, but it is nice to see that he's hitting so well so early on.
Yeah, and he came into spring training looking absolutely jacked.
This guy
looked
gains 15
huge.
pounds of muscle every single time he comes back. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? The question mark around Addison Barger and even guys like you brought up the confidence aspect. And I think that's something we saw get drained from Davis Schneider last season. And those are two guys that are, to me, a little bit comparable. Both of them had great spring trainings this year. But how will that translate into the regular season? I just don't know about either of them. And I am very impressed with both of them. There were two guys that were on my mind that I was thinking of bringing up was Davis Schneider and Addison Barger. But Carter, for me personally, if I have to take a look up and down this lineup of who has been the biggest surprise for me, it has to be Alan Roden. Just for the simple fact that I had no idea 100% what to expect from him with a 391 average, an on base of 545, and a slugging of 739. For me, he was my biggest choice because at the start of it, I was more looking for those guys that I thought, had a better shot of cracking the roster, like the Addison Bargers, the Davis Schneiders, the Will Wagners, the Joey Loperfidos. But Alan Roden is a guy that was always sort of in the back of your mind. But now I think he's really starting to come to the front of everybody's minds because he has had such an electric spring training.
Yeah, number 5 prospect on the Toronto Blue Jays prospect list. When you see the production Alan Roden is producing right now in spring training, you're like, oh, he's only at number 5. Toronto Blue Jays probably have a pretty decent prospect pool. But again, it is spring training. If you're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays, what Ross Atkins said in the offseason, said that he wants to abandon these safety nets. He doesn't want to take, this precautionary approach. If you're looking at who's playing the best right now, and again, it is spring training, but you look at how good Alan Roden is playing right now, and you're in such a win now mode. The season is so drastic to the future of the Toronto Blue Jays. You got to think it's at least in the back of their heads that they're thinking, hey, maybe Alan Roden should start with the team. If he's playing this well, he's sort of forcing their hand a little bit that if they want to be successful and they want to start so hot, why not start with the hottest player debatably on the Toronto Blue Jays right now?
Yeah, no, I don't hate it at all. And that's what we talked about, right? This is an organization with a couple spots open right now. And it is all about riding who's hot, riding the hot hand. And so maybe that's something they have to look at moving into this year. Carter, one more thing I want to bring up before we leave today's episode, just because I don't think we're going to get to it tomorrow on the big hot takes, whatever segment. The MLB posted a video on a bunch of MLB players talking about who their best baseball friend is. And without taking a beat, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette both said each other. A lot of guys were sort of hemming and hawing. It was the quickest answers out of anybody in that video. How important, and I know we could talk about this for a long time too, but having those two guys want to stay together, I'm a little bit, it goes back to the Vlad contract. I think if you can get Vlad signed, maybe you can get Bo signed. Maybe you got to get them both done and keep them both around here because I don't know if you're going to get a better player in either case in free agency.
This is kind of where I'm at in this situation. Obviously, I want both of them to stay for a very long time, but I think there can be a world where Vladdy stays and Bo goes, but I don't think there's a world where Bo stays and Vladdy goes. I think
agree.
if Vladdy's gone, Bo's gone for sure, but I think there is a scenario where you can sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and maybe things don't work out too well for Bo Bichette. So unfortunately right now, there's the way that things are standing. Things do change a lot in Toronto Blue Jays lines, especially with the fan perspectives, because we all like Bo Bichette. This was Bo Bichette 2 years ago. Now, obviously, it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but we want both of these guys back, but I think that why there is such a big focus on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I think that is the feeling amongst the organization as well. So if you land Vladimir Guerrero Jr., your chances with Bo Bichette absolutely skyrocket. So I think the focus is on there, but obviously you know what you're getting into if you can sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The next person they're going to talk to is Bo Bichette, and they're going to try to bring him back to Toronto as well.
And this is my thinking, right? We heard the comments of one Hector Gomez, take that with what you will. And if that's the case, and the Blue Jays can somehow give Vlad exactly what he wants and get him signed, I agree with you. I think the absolute next step is to go to Bo Bichette right after and say, hey, we have Vlad. Why don't you come back too? And you might get him at a discount. From the season he had last year to his friend Vladdy staying around. It gives this, and Anthony Santander signed for a couple more years as well. I think things would look a lot better for the future of the Toronto Blue Jays. But again, maybe that's a topic that we can bring up to Dallin Wilton, Skylar Peters on tomorrow's episode as we start part 1 of hot takes, predictions, bold bets, everything in between. Big round table with all of the boys. It should be an absolute blast. Make sure you guys tune in for that tomorrow morning / whenever you watch it, because this isn't a live show. So there you go. We'll be back tomorrow. As always, hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't already. It really does help us out. And a lot more to come this season. So stay tuned here to Locked On Blue Jays. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow for that big episode.